Priscilla Presley and Lisa Marie Presley, two names bound by blood, legacy, and tragedy, are now at the center of a shocking lawsuit that accuses a mother of making the unthinkable choice to end her daughter's life, raising chilling questions of betrayal, power, and greed behind the gates of Graceland. The Presley family was known for its glamour, its music, and the legacy left behind by the king of rock and roll himself. For decades, the name carried an air of mystery, tragedy, and fame that captivated the world. Yet, behind the carefully polished image of luxury and legacy, darker truths hid just out of sight. When Lisa Marie Presley, the only daughter of Elvis, passed suddenly, it seemed like the latest chapter in a long line of family tragedies. Fans mourned the loss of a woman who had grown up under a microscope, living both in her father's shadow and in the glare of the spotlight. To many, it was simply a devastating personal loss that echoed the sadness of the Presley family's history. But what no one expected was the firestorm that would follow. Soon after Lisa Marie's death, a lawsuit surfaced that shocked both fans and legal experts alike. It was not from an outsider or a distant relative, but from within the Presley circle itself. The documents revealed accusations that Priscilla Presley, the matriarch of the family and Lisa Marie's own mother, had played a direct role in the decision to end her daughter's medical care. The words written in the complaint sent a chill down the spine of anyone who read them. Priscilla Presley pulled the plug. It was a claim so explosive, so unthinkable, that the Presley name would never be viewed the same way again. The world had always speculated about money, power, and the family empire tied to Graceland, but this new allegation painted the drama in a far darker shade. The story was no longer about grief alone, it was about betrayal, control, and possibly even greed. For years, the Presley family had battled lawsuits, financial struggles, and disputes over inheritance. But this lawsuit suggested that Lisa Marie's death wasn't just a tragic turn of fate. It suggested that it might have been the result of a decision rooted in more than just compassion or medical advice. Reporters swarmed, headlines blared, and the Presley dynasty suddenly found itself under a microscope once again. What was supposed to be a quiet moment of mourning turned into a storm of accusations. The question echoed through the public and in courtrooms alike: was Priscilla Presley simply a grieving mother making a difficult choice, or was she the architect of something much darker? The answer to that question would unfold in shocking ways, revealing cracks in the Presley empire that had been hidden for years. The lawsuit that emerged after Lisa Marie Presley's death was unlike anything the public could have imagined. Court papers detailed allegations that shook the very foundation of the Presley legacy, suggesting that Priscilla Presley had not only made the decision to end her daughter's medical care but that she had done so with motives that extended far beyond grief. Legal experts pored over the filings, noting the unusual timing, the sharp language, and the bold claim that Lisa Marie's fate had been sealed not in a hospital room but in a battle for control. Suddenly, the Presley name, once tied to music and memory, became synonymous with suspicion and betrayal. The documents revealed layers of family conflict that had quietly brewed for years. At the center was Graceland, the heart of Elvis Presley's empire, and the crown jewel of the family's inheritance. The lawsuit pointed to disagreements over Lisa Marie's trust, her business holdings, and her debts, painting a picture of a family in turmoil long before her passing. It was claimed that Lisa had been on the verge of restructuring her estate to cut certain family members out of key decision-making roles, leaving some with far less control than they once held. This, the lawsuit suggested, had fueled a desperate need to act before those changes became permanent. Fans who once idolized the Presley family were left stunned as the revelations poured out. The tabloids printed shocking headlines about backroom arguments, hidden financial troubles, and whispered conversations that hinted at betrayal. Medical records included as evidence showed contradictions in timelines and treatment decisions. Lawyers for the opposing side painted a chilling portrait of a mother who saw her daughter's final hours as an opportunity rather than a tragedy. They pointed to hastily signed documents and raised questions about who truly benefited from Lisa Marie's death. The tension in the courtroom was mirrored by the frenzy in the media. Supporters of Priscilla argued that she had been thrust into an impossible position, forced to make a painful decision in the face of overwhelming medical evidence. Others, however, believed the allegations revealed the truth behind decades of rumors about power struggles and control within the family. What unsettled the public most was not only the accusations themselves, but the possibility that such decisions might have been influenced by money rather than love. The once golden Presley image was now deeply fractured, and for the first time, the world began to see the dynasty not as a symbol of music history, but as a family consumed by its own shadows. As the investigation deepened, a darker side of the Presley empire began to emerge. Financial documents that had been hidden away for years suddenly came to light, exposing just how fragile Lisa Marie's wealth truly was. Despite being the sole heir to her father's estate, Lisa had long struggled with debts, failed marriages, and lawsuits that drained her fortune. Court records suggested she was teetering on the edge of financial collapse at the time of her death. For the first time, the public saw the Presley dynasty not as an endless well of riches, but as an empire under threat of crumbling. Within this storm, the lawsuit pointed a finger at Priscilla, suggesting that her daughter's death had given her a direct pathway to regain influence she had once lost. At the center of the controversy was Graceland, the iconic mansion in Memphis that had become both a shrine to Elvis and a billion-dollar business. Ownership of the estate had long been tied to Lisa Marie, but whispers circulated that she had been planning major changes to its management. According to the lawsuit, she intended to shift power away from Priscilla, making it harder for her mother to control future decisions. The timing of Lisa Marie's death, combined with sudden legal filings that surfaced in its aftermath, raised suspicions that this tragedy had provided an unexpected opening for Priscilla to reclaim authority. The lawsuit painted her not as a grieving mother but as a strategist in a larger financial game. Journalists uncovered contradictions in the Presley family's carefully guarded history. Rumors that Lisa Marie had considered selling a portion of her stake in Elvis's estate were now backed by leaked correspondence. Allegations of unpaid debts reaching into the tens of millions only added fuel to the fire. If true, Lisa Marie's sudden death removed the only obstacle standing in the way of Priscilla's continued dominance over the Presley empire. These findings added a chilling new dimension to the lawsuit, suggesting that what the world thought was a natural tragedy may have been an opportunity exploited in silence. The revelations forced fans to grapple with a grim reality. Could the family that once stood as a symbol of music and legacy be undone by greed and betrayal? The lawsuit did not answer every question, but it reshaped the story of Lisa Marie's passing into something far more sinister. The Presley name, once untouchable, was now clouded by suspicion. And every document, every detail seemed to suggest that Lisa Marie's death had benefits far beyond sorrow. The courtroom became the center of a storm that captivated the world. Every hearing was packed with reporters, fans, and legal analysts eager to uncover the truth behind the Presley family's darkest scandal. Evidence presented by the plaintiffs painted a chilling picture of Lisa Marie's final hours. Medical documents were displayed, showing discrepancies in her treatment timeline, and questions quickly arose about whether she had truly been given every chance at survival. Some doctors testified that the decision to withdraw life support had not been unanimous, and that continued care might have offered a slim possibility of recovery. These revelations cast a shadow over Priscilla Presley's role, making the phrase "pulling the plug" echo with more weight than anyone had anticipated. Alongside the medical records came financial documents that seemed to tie everything together. Lawyers argued that certain estate papers had been altered or rushed through in the days following Lisa Marie's death. Signatures on some documents appeared inconsistent, raising suspicions about whether Lisa had ever truly approved them. Experts debated whether the timing of these changes was mere coincidence or the final step in a carefully orchestrated plan. The lawsuit portrayed Priscilla as a woman willing to sacrifice her daughter's future to preserve her own grip on the Presley legacy. But the defense was relentless. Priscilla's attorneys countered by painting her as a victim of circumstance, a grieving mother whose actions were being twisted into something sinister. They questioned the credibility of the witnesses, pointing out contradictions in their statements and suggesting that others within the family stood to gain just as much if not more from Lisa Marie's absence. The possibility of a frame-up loomed over the proceedings, creating an atmosphere thick with uncertainty. Was Priscilla truly guilty of betrayal, or was she the target of an elaborate scheme designed to strip her of power? As the trial stretched on, the media frenzy only intensified. News outlets dissected every word, every expression, and every new document that surfaced. Fans argued bitterly online, some defending Priscilla as a devoted mother, while others condemned her as cold and calculating. Each revelation pushed the narrative further into murky territory where truth and speculation blurred together. By the time closing arguments approached, the case had become less about facts and more about interpretation. The Presley legacy hung in the balance, teetering between sympathy and suspicion, with the fate of its matriarch at the center of one of the most shocking trials the family had ever faced. When the trial finally reached its conclusion, the outcome left more confusion than clarity. The judge's ruling addressed some of the claims but left many others unresolved, creating a cloud of unanswered questions that refused to lift. Certain key pieces of evidence had mysteriously disappeared, including financial records that might have proven or disproven the allegations of forged documents. Witnesses who once seemed prepared to testify with certainty suddenly retracted or altered their statements, claiming pressure and fear for their safety. What was meant to be the final chapter in the Presley family's public ordeal instead opened the door to endless speculation. For the public, the verdict was deeply unsatisfying. While Priscilla Presley avoided direct legal accountability, the accusations remained stamped onto her image. Some saw her as a woman who had escaped justice through wealth and influence, while others believed she had been unfairly targeted by those who wanted to destroy her reputation and seize control of the Presley fortune themselves. The case had not only fractured public opinion, but had also torn the Presley family apart behind the scenes. Relationships once thought to be unshakable were now strained under the weight of mistrust. Meanwhile, the empire itself, Graceland, the publishing rights, the merchandise, and the sprawling business tied to Elvis's memory was thrown into further chaos. The lawsuit's publicity tarnished its image, making every decision and every dollar earned feel tainted by suspicion. What was once a beloved symbol of music history now carried the weight of scandal. Tourists still came to visit, but their whispers in the halls of Graceland spoke more of betrayal and greed than of music and love. The Presley brand had become less about legacy and more about intrigue. Fans around the world were left to wrestle with a haunting question. Did Priscilla Presley act out of love, making the hardest decision a mother could face? Or was she driven by motives that the courtroom could never fully prove? The uncertainty lingered, fueling documentaries, debates, and endless speculation. The truth, buried beneath layers of secrecy, legal maneuvering, and family history, may never fully come to light. What remained was a legacy forever altered, a dynasty scarred by shadows that would not fade. The Presley name, once a beacon of fame and nostalgia, was now also a cautionary tale of power, greed, and the price of living under the weight of a legend.